Take a look at this image for a second. Which prisoner do you think is rich? Let's see. It can't be the first guy since his food is partially rotten. It looks like the other inmates don't really like him, and he doesn't have a lot of power inside the prison. The second guy, while he looks super wealthy, his jewelry is actually fake. This leaves us with the last guy, and bingo, it's him! Look, he's got a laptop under his plate and a phone under his arm. He's the richest for sure. Susie was invited to take part in a pop-up riddle show. She needed to answer one question correctly to win $1,000. She was extremely nervous when the game show host asked her this question. How many numbers are on a clock? Can you help Susie figure out this one? The answer looks obvious, but it's not. You need to do some math. The correct answer is 15. It doesn't work if you simply stare at the clock and say there are 12 numbers. You see, the numbers 10, 11, and 12 are made up of smaller numerical numbers, so the correct way to count it would be in a clockwise fashion. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 0, 1, and 1. Phew! A local thief was running around playing tricks on some neighborhood stores. On a Saturday morning, he walked inside Mrs. Buchanan's shop and stole a $100 bill from the counter when she wasn't looking. He grabbed a shopping cart and filled it with $70 worth of goods. He paid for everything with the $100 bill he had stolen and even got $30 back as change. How much money did the store owner lose in all of this? The shop owner just lost $100. I know it sounds too simple, but here's the deal. In total, the store owner lost $70 worth of merchandise, plus the $30 she gave as change. So yes, she lost $100. Maya was roaming through the multiverses when she ran into a gatekeeper guarding a green door. She said she needed to go through the door in order to access her original timeline, but the gatekeeper would only let through those who answered his riddle. He told her that some things can go through the green door while others cannot, and she needed to figure out what all of the things had in common. And then he tells her, "You can come through the door with a carton of eggs, but not with a box of donuts. You can pass through it with a gallon of skim milk, but not a quart of it. You can bring with you some bamboo, but not jade, orchids, philodendron, or ivy. Sadly, you can't come through with dogs and cats unless they're still puppies and kittens." Can you help Maya figure out the pattern in common with all of these things? Well, the key to solving this riddle can be found in all 4 of the words that make up the phrase green glass door, aka double letters. If something is spelled with double letters, it can go through the green glass door. If there are no double letters in its name, then it can't. Mark went to the farmer's market to do his weekly grocery shopping. He stopped by the egg stand, and the owner was feeling chatty, so he challenged Mark to guess the answer to a riddle. He told Mark,
"If I had 4 eggs and a thief gave me 3, and my rooster laid 5 more, how many eggs do I have?"
Can you help Mark figure out the answer here? I'll get one thing out of the way. It's not a simple math problem. It doesn't work if you just add everything up. But here's the first problem. Roosters don't lay eggs, so those eggs are out of the equation. And then if you read correctly, The man said, "If I had 4 eggs," which means that he had 0 eggs to begin with. So, the correct answer is 3. The 3 eggs that the thief gave him. 4 prisoners from a high-security prison were taken to a deserted beach to do some community service. The warden wanted to have some fun, so he lined them up in a single-file line and separated prisoner A from the other 3 with the help of a brick wall. He gave each prisoner a hat, either black or white, without telling them which color they each got. In total, there were 2 black hats and 2 white hats. He told them that all prisoners would be sentenced to prison for life, except they could guess correctly which color of hat they had in under 10 minutes. The prisoners weren't allowed to confer with each other, and they weren't allowed to move around or change positions. They got super nervous, of course, but they had no other option than to play the game. Luckily, just before the clock struck 10 minutes, one of the prisoners guessed correctly their hat color. Can you guess which prisoner it was? P.S. There is only one correct answer. If you guessed prisoner C, then you got it right. Let's see why. This riddle can only be solved through a process of elimination, and 2 of the prisoners A and B, can be eliminated right off the bat. That's because neither one of them can see any of the other prisoners, so neither possesses any information with which to make a more certain guess. That just leaves us prisoners C and D. When prisoner D remains silent and doesn't take a guess, prisoner C deduces his own hair color. He deduces that he and prisoner B must be wearing different colored hats, and since prisoner B was wearing a white hat, he guessed he is wearing a black hat. Yikes! This fried my hat off. Betty was in her last year of high school and she decided to take photography as an extracurricular activity. For her latest assignment, she needed to take an urban picture and present it to the class. However, since Betty was also organizing a big graduation trip, she didn't have time to do the assignment. Instead, she decided to Photoshop an image and show it in class. The teacher and students immediately saw that the picture wasn't real. How could they tell? Well, because that person over there has 2 heads. It looks pretty cool, but that's kind of a difficult phenomenon to find here on this planet. Three people decided to spend their vacations in Antarctica. Bianca had some trouble with the harsh weather, but felt it was worth it in the end. Pablo had a great time photographing the penguins for his social media page. And Helena got to do some fishing while she was there. On the last day of their trip, passing through airport security, one of them got caught trying to take a penguin with them in their backpack. Take a look at the picture. Can you tell who it was? Let's see what we have here. Well, is that a penguin's feet poking out of Helena's backpack? It sure is. Guess she did more than just fishing during her vacation. Yikes! December 5th is Bloomfield Town's Contest Day. For this year, the mayor picked bakery as the theme, so contestants needed to bake the best dessert to win. The only rule was that the bakers couldn't use sugar in their recipes, only natural sweeteners. When the mayor went to judge the 4 finalists and pick the best dessert, he immediately disqualified one of the bakers, saying they had cheated. And he did that without even tasting the desserts. Take a look at the contestants and see if you can spot the cheater. Look at the third woman in the row. Her cake is literally covered in powdered sugar. She was disqualified because she broke the no sugar rule. You think you're a math genius? Well, here's your chance to prove that. For I have prepared the ultimate IQ test for you. Don't forget to keep track of your correct answers.
Yeah.
Take a look at the image. Can you tell me what's the number of the parking space covered by the car? Well, this math question actually requires no math whatsoever. If you flip the image upside down, you'll see that what you're dealing with is a simple number sequence. So, the correct answer is 87. I am an odd number. Take away one letter and I become even. What number am I? The answer is 7. Take away the S and it becomes even. There's a 3-digit number. The second digit is 4 times as big as the third digit, while the first digit is 3 less than the second digit. What is the number? The correct answer is 141. Sally is 54 years old and her mother is 80. Can you tell me how many years ago Sally's mother was 3 times Sally's age? It was 41 years ago when Sally was 13 and her mother was 39. I add 6 to 11 and get 5. Can you tell me how that's possible? Well, you'll need to use your critical thinking skills to solve this rather than your math knowledge and shift your perspective. When it is 11 a.m., adding 6 hours makes it 5 p.m. That's how the equation is possible. What is the smallest number that is increased by 12 when it's flipped and turned upside down? The answer is 86. When it's turned upside down and flipped, it becomes 98, which is 12 more than 86. My twin lives at the reverse of my house number. The difference between our house numbers ends in 2. What are the lowest possible numbers of our house numbers? I never said these math riddles were going to be easy to solve. Anyway, here's the answer to this one. The lowest possible numbers for the houses are 19 and 91. The difference is 72. A father is 4 times as old as his son. In 20 years, he will be twice as old. How old are they now? The father is 40 years old and the son is 10 years old. What 3 positive numbers give the same answer when multiplied and added together? The answer is 1, 2, and 3. You have a 3-gallon bottle and a 5-gallon bottle. How can you measure exactly 4 gallons of water? Fill the 3-gallon bottle and pour it into the 5-gallon bottle. Then fill the 3-gallon bottle again and carefully pour it into the 5-gallon bottle until the 5-gallon bottle is full. This will leave 1 gallon in the 3-gallon bottle. Empty the 5-gallon bottle and pour the 1 gallon from the 3-gallon bottle into it. Now, fill the 3-gallon bottle one more time and pour it into the 5-gallon bottle, giving you 4 gallons in the 5-gallon bottle. How can a chef use an 11-minute hourglass and a 7-minute hourglass to time vegetables that must be cooked for 15 minutes consequently? Turn over both hourglasses at the same time, but don't put any vegetables in just yet. When the 7-minute hourglass runs out, put in the vegetables immediately. There will be 4 minutes left on the 11-minute hourglass. When that runs out, just flip it back over for another 11 minutes. That gives you the 4 minutes plus the 11 minutes, which makes 15 minutes. A box contains 6 red balls, 4 green balls, and 2 blue balls. Without looking, what's the minimum number of balls you need to draw to ensure you have at least 2 balls of the same color? The answer is 4. Here's why. Because even if the worst-case scenario happens, which is you'll draw 1 ball of each color, the next ball you'll pick will match one of the colors drawn previously. What comes next in this sequence? You see, each number in this sequence is generated by taking a square of a natural number, aka 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then adding that natural number itself. For example, the first number in the sequence is the square of 1 plus 1. The second is the square of 2 plus 2, and so on. According to that formula, the next number in this sequence will be 30. You have a set of scales and 8 balls. One of the balls is slightly heavier than the rest, but you don't know which one. You can use the scales only twice. How can you find the heavier ball? As step 1, you need to pick 6 balls and weigh them 3 on each side of the scale. If the balls balance each other, then weigh the remaining 2 balls, and the heavier one will tilt the balance on its side. But if the balls do not balance each other, then the heavier ball should be one of the 3 balls on the side the balance tilts. From these 3 balls, discard one of them and choose the other 2 to weigh. If the 2 balls balance each other, then the heavier one is the discarded 3rd ball. If not, the heavier one will tilt the balance on its side. Take a look at this table. According to it, what will 7 plus 3 make? So in these equations, you first subtract the second number from the first number. Then, you put the 2 numbers together without any mathematical operation. For example, in 4 plus 2 equals 26, you subtract 2 from 4, which is 2, and then you add 4 and 2 together, which is 6, and this gives you 26. So, for 7 plus 3, you subtract 3 from 7, which is 4, and then you add 7 and 3 together, which results in 410. A grandmother, 2 mothers, and 2 daughters went to a baseball game together and bought 1 ticket each. How many tickets did they buy in total? They bought 3 tickets. The grandmother is also a mother, and the mother is also a daughter. What can you put between a 7 and an 8 so that the result is greater than a 7 but less than an 8? A decimal, because even 7.8 is greater than 7, but less than 8. If 7 people meet each other and each person shakes hands only once with each other, how many handshakes will there be in total? The first person shakes the hand of 6 others. The second person shakes the hand of 5 remaining people. The third person shakes the hand of 4 remaining people, and so on. So, you can reach the correct answer by adding 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 together, which will give you 21 handshakes. Jessica works at SeaWorld. When she tries to put each fish in its own aquarium, she has 1 fish too many. But if she puts 2 fish per aquarium, she has 1 aquarium too many. How many fish and how many aquariums does Jessica have? She has 3 aquariums and 4 fish. David is the owner of a clothing store, and he has come up with his own method of pricing items. According to it, a vest costs $20, socks cost $25, a tie costs $15, and a blouse costs $30. Using the same method, how much would a pair of underwear cost? The pricing method consists of charging $5 for each letter required to spell the item. So, a pair of underwear will cost $45. Let's check your results. If you got 0 to 6 questions right, maybe math equations are not your strong suit, but your talents might be lying elsewhere. Just find what that is to shine your light on the world. If you got 7 to 11 questions right, it shows that you have potential, but maybe you were just out of your element today. I suggest you try again when you feel like you can concentrate more. If you got 12 to 16 questions right, the Genius Club has saved you a spot. Just practice more and you'll get there in no time. If you got 16 to 20 questions right, my friend, you bow to no one.
Anna and Barbara are cleaners at a fancy hotel. The hotel manager received a call saying that one of them had stolen precious jewelry from one of the clients. Now, look at the image. Can you figure out who did it? It was Anna. If you look closely, there's a shiny diamond inside that cleaning bucket. Uh-oh. Inside a high-security prison, 3 men were eager to escape. The first one was trying to break the cell bars. The second one was working out every day to get strong. The last one was quietly reading a book. One of these prisoners came from the future. Can you tell who? It's the one reading the book. He knows none of the other prisoners are going to make it. By reading books, he might get an answer on how to escape. And even if that doesn't happen, at least reading will help him stay on track until he gets out of there. Ben and Paula were watching a Riddle channel at home. They got into a heated discussion about who would survive such a dangerous prank. Take a look at the image. Who do you think has the biggest chance at survival? It's the lady with the snakes. I know that sounds dangerous, but the snakes are small and not poisonous. Dan enrolled in a photography class. For his latest assignment, he needed to take a landscape picture and present it to the class. But Dan didn't have time to do the assignment, so he decided to Photoshop an image and show it in class. The teachers and students immediately saw that the picture wasn't real. How could they tell? Well, because the image has two suns. That's not natural. At least not on planet Earth. Maybe Tatooine. Otto decided to take a chance on online dating. After a few days, he started talking to Mandy. They got along pretty well and decided to meet in person. They agreed to meet in Mandy's favorite cafe. She told Otto that she would be using a couple of red hair clips and it should be easy for him to find her. But as soon as Otto arrived there, 3 women were using red hair clips. They were in fashion apparently. So take a look at the image. Can you help Otto find Mandy? Let's see. Mandy is the woman at the first table. She's the only one wearing a pair of hair clips. The woman on the left is using 3 clips, and the other is wearing just 1. Betty walked into a cafe and ordered a cappuccino. But the cashier told her it was her lucky day. He would give Betty her cappuccino for free if she managed to answer a riddle correctly. The cashier said there were 2 buckets filled with water all the way to the top. The buckets had equal height, but the temperature of the water inside the first bucket was 25 degrees Celsius, while the second bucket it was 25 degrees Fahrenheit. If a person dropped the coin inside both buckets at the same time, which coin would hit the bottom of the bucket first? Jenny took a few minutes to answer the riddle, but she got it right. Can you guess what she answered? She said it would hit the bottom of the first bucket first. It had to do with the state of the water in each bucket. At 25 degrees Celsius, the water is liquid, while at 25 degrees Fahrenheit, it turns to ice. Amy lives in a cozy townhouse with 3 roommates, Jill, Alice, and Nora. Take a look at these 4 bedrooms. Can you tell which one belongs to Amy? Let's go one by one, eh, Sherlock? In the first room, there's a comb with some green hair stuck to it. Nora's the one with the green hair, so that must be her room. Then, in the room to the right, there's a single red sock under the bed. Take a look at Jill's feet. She's missing that same sock. That must be her room. In the room right under this, there's a yellow jacket hanging on the chair, and Alice is wearing the same colored pants. It looks like the 2 pieces are a suit, right? That leaves the last room, with this huge letter A poster hanging on the wall. That must be Amy's room. Whew, that took some work. Annie was locked inside a room with 4 doors. On each door, there was a symbol of a creature hidden behind it. On the first door, there was a small dragon. On the second, there was a couple of vampires. On the third door, there was a mummy. And on the last door, there was a werewolf. One of the doors would open in 1 minute, but Annie didn't know which one. She had 3 different items she could use to protect herself: an axe, a torch, or an aspen stake. She needed to choose one that would help her fight any of the monsters. Which one should she choose? Her best option would be to choose the torch. The torch's fire can scare off any of the creatures and protect Annie. Olivia was running a marathon. Right before the finish line, she did her best and outran the person who was running in second place. The woman was happy and excited that she was going to win, but in a few seconds, she was very disappointed. Why? Because Olivia finished in second place when she wanted to finish first. This is what happened. She was fast enough to outrun the person who was going to win second place, but she wasn't fast enough to outrun the person who finished first. But hey, it's a good result anyway. Cheryl ran into her house extremely worried. She told the police officer she took off as soon as she heard the news. She was at her parents' house in another town and wanted to know what had happened to her husband while she was away. The officer said that someone had hurt Mr. Brown and that he ended up in the hospital. He said Mr. Brown was going to be okay, but he still needed to find out who had done this to him. The police officer had questioned 3 suspects so far. Mr. Brown's secretary said that she was sent to visit Mr. Brown's business partner in the morning because important documents needed to be signed. The house cook said he hadn't left the kitchen the entire day, since Mr. Brown had asked him to prepare a meal for him and his wife. And the housekeeper said that she hadn't heard anything. She spent the day doing chores. The officer realized who the culprit was in no time. Can you figure out who did it too? It was the cook. Mr. Brown probably didn't ask him to cook anything for his wife since she was out of town all along. These are Julia and Maria. They are both very attractive young women who have no trouble finding boyfriends. Today is Valentine's Day, and they're both going out with their loved ones. One of them is currently dating 3 people, though, so she's probably going to run from date to date. Just by looking at this image, can you tell which one it is? It's Maria, the one on the left. If you look at her workstation, she's got 3 presents lined up, one for each person she's currently seeing, who, I'm just guessing here, probably don't know about the others. Police officer Dave received a call late one night. A famous chemist went missing from his lab. After searching the lab thoroughly, Dave found a note with random numbers scribbled on it. The note read 26 3 58, 28 27 57 6. It took Dave a while to figure out the hidden message. The clue was on the periodic table. Can you figure it out? The chemist was smart. Each number on the note corresponds to an element in the periodic table. So the element that corresponds to the number 26 is Fe, or iron. The number 3 is Li, lithium. And 58 is Ce, cerium. Using this logic, the first line is spelled Felice. By the same logic, the second line is spelled out Nicholas. After discovering the names, Dave tracked the 2 men down and arrested them.
Andrew and Emma agreed to meet for a date at the park entrance at 9 p.m. But there was a slight problem. Both Andrew's and Emma's watches were showing the wrong time. Andrew's watch was 3 minutes behind, but he thought it was 2 minutes ahead. Emma's watch, on the other hand, was 2 minutes ahead, but she thought it was 3 minutes behind. Which of them do you think will be late for the date? Andrew will be 5 minutes late and Emma will be 5 minutes early. Gemma was attending a technology-themed costume party. When she arrived at the venue, she saw 3 people chatting by the drinks buffet who were all dressed in robot costumes. However, she noticed that one of them was a real robot. Can you tell who? Everyone is holding drinks in their hands, but take a look at the second guy. His glass is empty, but he's still pretending to drink something from it. Robots and liquids don't go well together, so he must be an actual robot. Realizing that Gemma noticed him, the robot immediately pulled her to the corner of the room and said, Now that you know my real identity, I need to wipe your memory. But if you can answer my riddle correctly, I'll let you go. I have keys, but open no locks. I have space, but no room. You can enter, but you can't go inside. What am I? The answer is a computer. Janice, Candace, and Demeter were 3 witches who cared a lot about looking young and beautiful, but one of them was actually 100 years old. Can you tell me who? The first witch, Candace, who is taking a selfie, looks like an old woman on her phone screen, but that's just a social media filter. As for the second witch, Janice, the creepy old lady-looking shadow at the back is not her shadow. It's an evil spirit that's haunting her. But look at the mirror the third witch, Demeter, is holding. It's reflecting what she doesn't want others to see, aka her true face. So she's the old lady here. Lloyd went to the costume store to buy something to wear for Halloween. Once he selected a costume for himself, he headed to the fitting rooms to try it. But all 3 of them were occupied. A few minutes later, 3 different customers in costumes came out of them. The first one was wearing a vampire costume. The second was wearing a werewolf costume. And the third one was wearing a zombie costume. But Lloyd immediately realized that one of them was actually a real monster. Can you tell who? Take a look at the mirrors in front of the fitting rooms. The customer in the vampire's costume doesn't have a reflection. That can only mean he is a real vampire. Sir Ridley Stormrider was a knight searching for his one true love. He traveled to the kingdom of Eridonia after hearing rumors that there was a magical mirror there, which revealed the location of the heart's desire to those who looked into it. But there was a catch. It would only reveal it to you if you knew the answer to the riddle that was engraved on it. I'm often running, but I never get tired. What am I? Can you help Sir Ridley Stormrider find love? The correct answer is water. Inspector Banner was inspecting the Academy of History and Science. During his inspection, he noticed that whenever he asked the class a question, all the students raised their hands in response. Moreover, even though the school teacher chose a different student each time, the answer was always correct. How did this work? The teacher had prearranged with the students that they would be called upon to answer regardless of whether they knew the answer or not. But those who knew the answer should raise their right hand, and those who did not know should raise their left hand. The teacher chose a different student each time, but always the one who raised his right hand. Amy had one last test to pass before she graduated. Her professor asked her only one question during the exam, which was this. You have 2 candle wicks. Each wick, lit from the end, burns completely to the ground in exactly 1 hour, but it burns at an uneven rate. How can you use these wicks and a lighter to measure 45 minutes? Can you help Amy graduate? It's necessary to light the first wick simultaneously from both ends, which will give you 30 minutes. Simultaneously with the first wick, you light the second wick from the end, and when the first wick burns out after 30 minutes, you light the second wick from the other end, which will give you the remaining 15 minutes. Layla's best friend was her dog named Gamgee. One night after spotting a falling star in the sky, she wished that Gamgee could talk to her. Then, suddenly, the star came to life in front of her and said, I will grant you your wish if you can answer this riddle of mine. Always old, sometimes new, never sad, sometimes blue, never empty, sometimes full, never pushes, always pulls. What am I? The answer is the moon. To Layla's surprise, her dog really started talking. The first thing it said was, "Oh, this riddle game is so fun! I want to play it too! Here's my riddle to you. What's always found on the ground but never gets dirty?" It's a shadow. Jamie was standing at the edge of a circular lake. The lake was 200 feet in diameter, and there was a small island directly in the middle. There was a large tree next to him and a large tree in the middle of the island. Jamie needed to get to the island in the middle of the lake, but he didn't know how to swim. He only had a little over 200 feet of rope. How can he use that to get there? First, Jamie needs to tie one end of the rope to the tree next to him. Then, while he's holding the other end of the rope, he should walk all the way around the lake. This will wrap the rope around the tree in the center. When he returns to his starting point, he needs to tie the end of the rope he's holding to the large tree again. He can now use this rope bridge to hold on to and cross the lake to the island. Cedric was a brilliant scientist. One day, suddenly a small portal appeared in his lap, and a little device with a letter attached to it fell on his head right before the portal closed. The letter said, "From future Cedric to past Cedric. One of my experiments accidentally caused chaos to be unleashed on Earth. That is why I have to prevent you from conducting this experiment in the first place. You will find the details inside the box, but you can only open it if you know the answer to this riddle. What occurs once in a minute, twice in a moment, and never in 1,000 years? Can you help Cedric save the future world?" The answer is the letter M. People who visited the town of Maplebrook often found themselves intrigued by Mr. Perry. He had a reputation of a not quite intelligent person. That was because when offered a choice between a 50-cent coin and a $5 bill, he always chose the coin, even though it was worth 10 times less than the banknote. Can you tell why he never chose the banknote? Well, he was not so foolish after all. You see, he realized that as long as he chose the 50-cent coin, people would offer him money to choose from, and if he chose the $5 bill, the offers of money would stop, and he would get nothing.
Now, Carol was invited to a Halloween party in an abandoned house. Her friends asked if she was up for a challenge, and she said yes. Soon enough, she was locked inside a room. In this room, there was one door and 3 light switches next to it. Behind the door was an empty closet with nothing but a light bulb. Her task was to figure out which switch controls the light bulb inside the closet. She could flip the switches in whatever way she wanted, but once she opened the door, she couldn't touch the switches anymore. After some minutes of thinking, she was able to get it right. How did Carol do it? Okay, let's go step by step. She flipped switch number 1 and then waited a few minutes. She flipped it back to off and then immediately flipped switch number 2. Then she opened the door and checked the light. The bulb was off, so she discovered that it wasn't switch number 2 that controlled the light. So she decided to touch the bulb to test if it was hot or cold. If the bulb had been cold, that would have meant that switch number 3 controlled it. But the bulb was hot. So that meant that switch number 1 controlled 1. Way to go, Carol! To get back to the party, Carol had to solve another riddle. There were 2 hourglasses in front of her. One hourglass measures 7 minutes, and the other one measures 4 minutes. She needed to time 9 minutes using both hourglasses. How could she do it? First, she turned both hourglasses at the same time. By the time the 4-minute glass finished, there were still 3 minutes left on the other one. She flipped the 4-minute glass again. When the 7-minute glass was empty, there was 1 minute left on the other glass. And once the 4-minute glass emptied again, there was 1 minute's worth of sand at the bottom half of the 7-minute timer. She flipped it over again, so there was 1 minute worth of sand on the top of the glass. And when the 7-minute timer finally emptied again, 9 minutes elapsed in total. Now look at this party scene. Everyone is dancing in their Halloween costumes and having an enjoyable time. You've been told that one of these people is a real vampire. Can you figure out who it is? Let's see. The guy on the left is drinking something red, but he has a shadow, so he can't be a real vampire. The second lady looks creepy, could be her, but if you look closely at the mirror on the wall, you'll see her reflection, so it can't be her. And we can also see the reflection of the fourth guy in the mirror. This only leaves one lady left. She must be the real vampire. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge-watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her, but after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat Pepper got scared with a loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out. Brendan was camping alone in a remote location. He left his campsite and hiked 3 miles south. Then he turned east and hiked for another 3 miles. After that, he turned north and hiked for another 3 miles. After walking 9 miles, he was back to the exact same point from where he had left off. Plus, he got there just in time to find a bear trying to open his tent and steal his food. Look at the image. Can you guess the only place in the world where Brendan could be right now? It's the North Pole. That's the only place where you can hike for 3 miles south, east, and north and end up exactly where you left off. Fraser bought a cozy home in Vancouver. On a sunny day, he decided to take his dog out for a walk. When he let his dog off the leash, it ran extremely far away from him. At some point, the dog was opposite him across a huge lake. Fraser called his dog, who managed to cross safely to the other side of the lake without getting wet or using a boat. Can you guess how the dog managed to do it? Well, that's a trick question, but the dog could easily cross the lake since it was frozen. Your best friend invited you for brunch at a place called Wally's World. As soon as you arrive there, the hostess tells you that you need to solve a riddle to get inside. She tells us that there is only one rule at Wally's World. Over there is pizza with cheese, but no pizza with sausage. There is pepper, but no salt. There is a door, yet no entrance or exit. With this information, can you guess what the law is? Everything in Wally's World must contain double letters. So things such as pizza, pepper, and cheese are allowed inside. Whew! That sure wasn't obvious, huh? On a snowy winter afternoon, Dr. Brown was resting in front of the fireplace. Suddenly, somebody threw a snowball at his window. The hit was so strong that the glass shattered. Dr. Brown stood up just in time to see 3 neighborhood boys running away. They were brothers with the names John Smith, Mark Smith, and Dave Smith. The next day, a paper note was left on Dr. Brown's door. There it was written, a question mark, then Smith. He threw the snowball. Dr. Brown knew immediately which brother had done it. Can you figure it out too? It was Mark. You see, the note said, question mark Smith. He threw the snowball. But the boys were clever and put a question mark instead to test Dr. Brown's detective abilities. Henry was backpacking through Brazil by himself. One evening at around 8 p.m., he got very hungry and decided to look for a cozy restaurant to have some dinner. He walked into a traditional restaurant only to find a customer and a waiter arguing over something. The customer said that he had ordered clam soup, while the waiter was saying he had only ordered a cup of tea. Henry saw something that immediately showed him who was lying. Can you find out too? The customer is lying. Behind him, there's a huge sign that says the restaurant only serves soup from 1 to 4 p.m. Since it was 8 p.m. in the evening, the waiter would have never accepted the customer's order in the first place. Cheryl ran into her house extremely worried. I set off as soon as I heard the news, she told the police officer. I was at my parents' house in another town. What's happened to my husband? Well, the police said, somebody hurt Mr. Moffat, and he ended up in the hospital. He's going to be okay, but we still need to find out who did this to him. The police officer has questioned 3 suspects so far. Mr. Moffat's secretary said, I was sent to visit Mr. Moffat's business partner in the morning. Some important documents needed signatures. The cook said, I haven't left the kitchen today. Mr. Moffat wanted me to prepare a meal for him and his wife. The housekeeper said, I didn't hear anything today. I was doing some household chores all day long. After that, I was so tired, I decided to take a nap. The police officer realized who the culprit was in no time. Can you figure out who did it? It was the cook. Mr. Moffat didn't ask him to cook anything for his wife, since she had been out of town all along.
A brain teaser is a great tool to challenge one's ability to think creatively and rationally. That's why many companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook are known for offering some tough interview riddles for their candidates. However, in recent years, business giants reportedly gave up this practice. Google even called riddles a waste of time because they don't predict anything about the candidate's future performance and serve only for the sake of feeding the interviewer's ego. But it's still curious to know whether you could crack those riddles, right? So, let's find out. They say Microsoft and Amazon used this puzzle in their interviews. You're given 8 identical-looking balls. One of them is heavier than the rest of the 7. You have simple mechanical scales and you can only make 2 measurements. Can you find the heavier ball? Let's name the balls 1 to 8. First, we should put the balls 1, 2, and 3 on the first side of the scales and balls 4, 5, and 6 on the second side. If these 2 groups have equal weight, it means that the heavier ball is either 7 or 8. In this case, all we need to do is weigh the remaining 2 balls and find out which is heavier. But let's talk about another scenario. Say one of the groups of 3 balls on the scales is heavier. The desired ball must be here. Now all you have to do is measure any 2 of these balls and reveal which one is heavier. If both balls have the same weight, then the desired ball is the one that remains unweighted. Today, Elon Musk reportedly doesn't interview each and every employee, but rumor has it that when he used to do that, he would ask this riddle. You're standing somewhere on the surface of Earth. You walk 1 mile south, then 1 mile west, and then 1 mile north. And you end up back at the same point where you started. Where are you? The most obvious reply is the North Pole. Congratulations, it's correct. But according to Musk's biographers, when he heard this answer, he would also ask, where else could you be? What do you say? Let's take a look at the circle of latitude near the South Pole that has a 1 mile circumference. From any point on this circle, walking 1 mile west along this circle will bring you back to that same point. Therefore, any point a mile north of this circle of latitude is a possible solution to the riddle. There's another option. You might be anywhere that is 5 miles south of the equator. This way, your westerly and easterly routes rotate an equal amount around a latitude. Also, you might be a superhero who can teleport to any point anytime, but that's a whole different ballgame. In this case, SpaceX would probably hire you without even looking at your resume. Many job portals mention interview puzzles about crossing a river under various terms. Here's a tricky example of those riddles. 9 brothers live on an island. Their names are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. They need to cross a river. They have a single boat that can take them from one bank to the other. But it can handle a maximum of 3 brothers at a time. Also, the boat cannot sail on its own, so one brother must steer it. There's one more condition. The sum of the same numbers of the brothers crossing the river must be a total square number. What's the minimal number of trips required to send all the brothers across the river? On the first trip, send brothers 2, 5, and 9. The sum of these numbers is 16, which is 4 times 4. Then send 9 back. This will be the second trip. On the third trip, send 3, 4, and 9. Again, the sum of their numbers is 16, which meets the conditions perfectly. On the fourth trip, send 9 back. And on the fifth trip, send 1, 7, and 8. The sum of these numbers is 16 again. On the sixth trip, return 1 to the island. And finally, on the seventh trip, send 1, 6, and 9. The sum of these numbers totals 16, which is still a square number. So, it takes at least 7 trips to send all the brothers across the river. Media reported that LinkedIn used the next riddle during its job interviews. You're in a room with 3 levers. There are 3 fountains in the next room. Each lever turns on one of the fountains. Your task is to figure out which lever controls which fountain. You can't see into one room from the other, and all the 3 fountains are off. You can inspect the other room only once. What would you do? Let's call the levers 1, 2, and 3. Leave the first lever off. Turn lever 2 on for 10 minutes. Now turn it off and quickly turn on lever 3. Go into the room. Find the fountain that is still wet but not working. That's the one controlled by lever 2. The one that's currently working is linked with lever 3. And the last one is linked with the first lever. This logical exercise from the 1960s is called the Wason selection task. Be careful, it's pretty tricky. Even math students fail to crack it. There are 4 cards. Each card has a letter on one side and a number on the other side. There's only one rule. Every card with the letter D on one side should have the number 3 on the opposite side. Can you guess which card or cards should be turned over to check if the rule has been followed? You need to check 2 cards, D and 7. Most people suggest choosing cards D and 3, but this answer is wrong. Let's go through each card to understand the logic. The rule says, if a card has D, it must have 3 on the other side. So, we must check the first card to make sure there's a 3 on the opposite side. The second card shows the letter K. We know nothing about the other letters, so it doesn't matter what's on the other side because neither case violates the rule, so we can skip it. We know that some cards with the 3 digits will have the letter D on the other side. But we don't know if that's true for all cards with 3s. So it makes no sense to check the third card. And finally, the fourth card. If we find the D letter on the other side, it would violate the rule because there's a digit 7 on the opposite side. So we should check only these 2 cards. Here's another informal variation of the previous game. There are 4 cards representing different persons. One side shows their favorite beverage and the other side their age. The city has a rule that anyone drinking lemonade must be over 20 years old. Which cards do you need to turn over to make sure the rule is followed? You only need to check the lemonade card and the card with number 16. Obviously, you need to make sure the lemonade drinking is over 20, and you need to make sure that the 16-year-old person doesn't drink lemonade. The coffee person can be any age, and the 25-year-old can legally drink lemonade. Most people can solve this riddle pretty quickly, and that's curious because, in fact, this task is similar to the previous one. This famous puzzle was designed to challenge one's ability to reason and see patterns. 3 ants are in the corners of an equilateral triangle. Each ant is moving in a random direction along the edges of the triangle. What's the probability that none of the ants collide with the triangle? There's a 50% possibility of the ants never colliding, and a 50% chance that at least 2 of them can meet. All the ants can move in either a clockwise or counterclockwise direction. This halves your first 50% chance of the never meeting ants to a 25% chance. And here's an example of a tricky wording question. What 2 words, when combined, hold the most letters? Post and office.
Here we go! You just arrived home from a long day of work and tuned into the Riddle show on your TV. Take a look at this scene. Who do you think has the best chance at survival? The 2 guys look pretty stuck in there, but the woman on the right might have a chance. The rope looks a bit loose around her body. She could try to shake it off and then use her free hands to untie her ankles. Which one of these definitely isn't human? It's the guy on the left. If you look closely, you'll see that the skin around his eyes is green. Take a look at these 3 guys. Which one of them is going on a date tonight? It must be the guy in the middle. He's holding a chocolate box in the shape of a heart. It's wrapped with a bow and everything. Alice, Beth, Cece, and Diana are standing in line to get a new video game. Alice is standing between Beth and Cece. Cece is in front of 2 people, and Diana is standing in front of her. Can you say the exact order in which the girls are standing? Let's see, there are 4 of them. If Cece is standing in front of 2 people, and Diana is in front of her, then Diana is the first in line. Cece is the second one. Then Alice is standing between Beth and Cece. So the third person is Alice, and the last one is Beth. There are 10 students in the class. 6 of them learn French. Oui, oui. 7 of the students in the class learn Spanish. Olé! If every student learns at least one foreign language, how many students learn both French and Spanish? This is pretty simple math. 6 plus 7 equals 13. If there are only 10 students in the class, that means that 3 students are learning both French and Spanish. A police officer was following a robber around the city. Suddenly, the criminal rushed toward a hospital and disappeared. When the police officer entered the building, he saw 3 people. One of them must be the robber, who had dressed up pretending to be a doctor. Can you tell who the criminal is? It's the girl on the left. Look at her shoes. They're dirty. She probably didn't have time to clean or change them. Theo was getting ready for a job interview when the lights in his apartment went off. He was in a rush and didn't have time to wait for the lights to come back on. He was almost ready. He only needed to put on his socks and boots. Theo had socks of 3 different colors: black, white, and gray. He didn't care what color his socks would be, but he needed 2 socks of the same color. How many socks should Theo take to make sure there would be at least 1 matching pair? He just needs 4 socks. Even if the first 3 socks are different colors, the 4th sock will probably be either black, white, or gray, matching one of the others. Devin takes showers every day, but on even days of the month, he takes a long bath. During 1 year's time, how many baths does he take? Well, let's see. Except for February, all months have 30 or 31 days. In each month, there are usually 15 even days. For starters, we should multiply 15 by 11, which gives us 165 days. If we count February as having 14 even days, then the total number of baths Devin takes in a year is 179. This is Allison, and one of these 3 men is her boyfriend. Can you tell who? It's the guy on the left. Look, they have matching tattoos. Bella landed in New York with a very ambitious career goal. But first thing she needed to do after arriving in the city was to find her apartment. There were many options to get from the airport to her apartment, but Bella decided to save money and go by bus. She had to purchase a ticket for $10, but a handsome guy popped out of nowhere and offered her a better deal. He said his plans had changed and he didn't need his bus ticket anymore. He offered to sell it to her for $6. Bella agreed and gave him the money, but it turned out to be a big mistake. Why? Take a look at the current date on the screen of the vending machine. And now check the date on the ticket. The ticket the man sold Bella expired over a month ago. Finally, Bella managed to arrive in Manhattan and find her apartment. She was sharing a house with 3 other women. Bella introduced herself to them and went to settle in her room. She left her belongings on her bed and went to take a shower. When she stepped out of the shower, Bella noticed that her laptop was missing.
Oh no!
She got furious and decided to interrogate all of her new roommates. Sarah said she had gone out to get a cup of coffee. She even told Bella to ask the doorman of their building since he had seen her leave. Kelly said that she had taken an afternoon nap with her headphones on. She said she hadn't heard or seen anything strange going on inside the apartment. Shannon said that she had gone to the building's rooftop to take some pictures of the city, since she was a professional photographer. Can you tell who's lying here? It's Shannon.
Uh-oh.
If you notice the sign on the lobby, the building strictly prohibits people from accessing the rooftop. Henry was backpacking through Italy by himself. One evening, around 8 p.m., he got very hungry and decided to look for a cozy restaurant to have some dinner. He walked into a traditional restaurant, only to find a customer and a waiter arguing over something. The customer was saying that he had ordered tomato soup, while the waiter was saying that he had only ordered a hot chocolate. Henry saw something that immediately showed him who was lying. Can you find out too? The customer is lying. Behind him, there's a huge sign that says the restaurant only serves soup from 1 to 4 p.m. Since it was 8 p.m. in the evening, the waiter would have never accepted the customer's order in the first place. These are Julia and Maria. They are both very attractive young women who have no trouble finding boyfriends. Today is Valentine's Day, and they're both going out with their loved ones. One of them is currently dating 3 people, though, so she's probably going to run from date to date. Just by looking at this image, can you tell which one it is? It's Maria, the one on the left. If you look at her workstation, she's got 3 presents lined up, one for each person she's currently seeing. Hey, who am I to judge? Dave, an archaeologist, traveled to Egypt on a very special mission. He spent days excavating ruins hidden under miles of sand, and the only thing he found was a coin marked 10 BCE. When he showed it to his colleagues, they told him the coin was a fake. Why? Well, because the designation BCE didn't appear until the beginning of our era. Take a look at this image. Can you figure out which doctor is fake? It's the guy on the left. He's got headphones wrapped around his neck. Something's not right there. Harry and Terry's girlfriends went away on a business trip for the weekend. During the whole time, the couples were texting and sending each other pictures. On Sunday morning, both girlfriends asked their boyfriends to send a selfie of where they were. Harry sent a selfie smiling inside the kitchen. Terry sent a selfie of himself in the bathroom. One of the girls knew immediately that their boyfriend was cheating. Who was the cheater, and how did the girlfriend know? It was Harry. Look at the lipstick mark on the glass on the top of the kitchen counter. Uh-oh.
Molly, Holly, and Sally are going to the prom in a fancy limousine, but the car breaks down on the way. The party hall is nearby, so the ladies decide to walk. Suddenly, it starts to rain. Luckily, all 3 ladies have umbrellas, but still, one of them gets wet. Can you guess who? Holly. Her skirt is wider than the diameter of her umbrella. Finally, the ladies arrive at the prom. All of their friends look very elegant and fancy. Leah is wearing very expensive designer shoes. Bella carries a Chanel bag. Alice is taking selfies with the latest smartphone. And Kim is showing off a sparkling diamond necklace. But in fact, only one of them is wealthy. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at the logo. Bella's Chanel bag is fake. Leah's shoes are way bigger than her feet, so she probably borrowed them from someone else. As for Alice, the smartphone in her hand is not hers. It has Kim's name on it, so Kim is the richest person here. Kim goes to the dance floor. Bobby, Billy, and Kenny invite her to dance, but one of these guys was bitten by a vampire, so he's not safe to dance with. Can you guess who? Bobby has a red mark on his shirt, but it's just lipstick. Billy's drinking something red, but it's just a cherry punch. Meanwhile, Kenny doesn't have any shadow, so he's a vampire. Kim goes to the ladies' room, but all 3 stalls are occupied. There's a robot inside one of them. Can you guess where? Let's take a look at the first lady's feet. Ouch! She's rubbed multiple corns with her fancy sandals. She can't be a robot. As for the third lady, her pedicure is too messy for a robot.
Oh.
Therefore, the robot is in the second stall. Bella asks Kim to take her picture. Kim takes a couple of shots. Can you find 3 differences between them? Here they are. Kim goes back to the party and spots a runaway criminal among the guests. Can you see this person too? It's the show host. He's hiding a prison robe under his suit. At the party, Bella gets bitten by a vampire too.
Oh, God.
Kim takes her to the hospital. They meet 2 doctors in the lobby. One of them is an imposter. Can you guess who? Real doctors wear gloves, and the woman on the right doesn't wear any. Bella gets into a hospital ward with 3 other people. One of them is not sick. Can you guess who? The woman on the left looks perfectly healthy. She has her lipstick on and a glamorous hairstyle. Although her arm is broken, it doesn't mean that she's sick. Kim comes home from a long day. She's very excited to treat herself with a bubble bath. She's been dreaming about it all day. But someone used up all her bubble foam. Kim interrogates her family members. Father says, "I spent all day at the garage repairing my old car, and I haven't visited the bathroom yet." Mother says, "I was feeling sick all day, so I didn't pay any attention to your beauty products." And Kim's brother says, "It wasn't me who took your bubble foam, but I think it was Mom." Who did it? Take a closer look at Dad's beard. There's pieces of foam on it. Busted! The next night, Kim goes to a sleepover with her friends. One of them is a werewolf. Can you guess who? This guy is a werewolf. Take a look at his claws.
Oh, no.
Kim puts some cash in a stash in her room and leaves for Granny's house. In a couple of days, Kim returns and realizes that someone had stolen her money. How did she guess? Kim's stash was in this book. It was on the shelf when she left, and now the book is gone.
Oh, God.
Kim runs to the living room and yells at her family. "Who stole my book?" Everyone swears to have nothing to do with the robbery, but Kim spots the thief right away. What about you? It's the brother. He used the book as a stand for his PlayStation. Kim is watching a TV program about risky sports.
Oh.
Can you help her guess which guy has a better chance of survival?
Oh, God.
The one who's falling into the snow has a higher chance to survive. Hitting the water can be tough, and he still needs to get out of the ocean. Kim's dad wants to buy a boat. His agent arranges a meeting with 3 people. Each tells a brief story about their boats. Karen says, "My husband gave me this boat 5 years ago as a wedding gift. That's why it has my name. But now I want to sell it because we don't use it." Charles says, "I inherited this boat from my father. It works very well, but I don't need it because I'm moving abroad." And Liam says, "I built this boat on my own, but now I'm building a bigger one, so I'd like to sell it to get some cash." One of the sellers is lying. Can you spot who? Take a closer look at the first boat. Its name is Karma, not Karen. Therefore, she's a liar.
Oh.
Kim goes to the nearby hardware store to buy something for her home. Kim asks, "How much for the one?" The shopkeeper replies,
It's $2.
Then Kim asks, "How much for 11?" The shopkeeper replies,
It's $4.
and finally, Kim asks,
How much for 100?
and the shopkeeper replies,
$6.
"What is Kim buying?" She's buying a house number. Each digit costs $2. Kim's cat, Fluffy, ran away. She's been looking for him in a forest all evening. Finally, she gets tired and heads home. But suddenly, she sees a witch's house on the way. Kim enters and faces the witch. Fluffy is sitting on her lap. The witch says,
I'll release your cat if you crack my riddle. I have two besties who are identical twins. Emma was born in 2003 and Gemma in 2004.
"How is it possible?" They're twins, but they were born on New Year's Eve. Emma was born right before midnight and Gemma right after midnight. The next day, Kim meets a handsome guy who likes puzzles. She asks his name, but instead of answering directly, the guy writes a date on a piece of paper. Can you help Kim figure out his name? Each number implies a particular letter of the alphabet. The guy's name is Theo. Theo invites Kim to an art exhibition. Take a look at these squares. Which one is bigger, yellow or green? All these black and white squares usually confuse perception, but it becomes obvious that the green square is larger than the yellow one if we put them away. Kim asks Theo, "What month were you born?" He replies with 4 emojis. Can you guess the month? Jack-o'-lantern stands for J. The next emoji implies U. Nut stands for N, and eggplant stands for E. Theo was born in June. Kim and Theo go for a walk in an abandoned village. They see a sign leading to a famous haunted castle. There are 4 possible routes, but only one of them will actually lead them to the castle. Can you figure out the correct way? It's way easier to untangle this maze if you start drawing from the final destination. They should take Route B. Finally, Kim and Theo find the castle. They enter the property and see a fancy living room. There are 6 zombies hiding in the living room. Can you spot them? Hello! The guys run away from the zombies and hide in the basement. They wander around and see 3 doors. Suddenly, the basement begins to get filled with water. Kim and Theo have to choose a door quickly to escape. But each door has a surprise. There's a tank with a family of sharks behind the first door. There's a deep hole with sharp venomous corals behind the second door. And there's a tank with piranhas behind the third door. Which door is more or less safe? The second door. The basement is full of water, so they can swim over the corals. Hey, my dear detective! Are you ready for a nice brain workout? Great, then let's get started.
Yeah.
William decided to go on vacation for a month. He went to a bank and asked for a loan of $500. The bank officer told the guy that the loan could only be approved if he mortgaged some valuables at the bank. William said he would mortgage his car, whose worth was a whopping $80,000. The bank officer was surprised, but he approved the loan instantly. After William's vacation was over, he came back to the bank. The bank officer asked him why he had mortgaged such an expensive car for such a small loan. William told him the reason, and the bank officer admitted it was a very clever plan. What did William say? The guy said that he mortgaged his car to keep his expensive vehicle safe while he was away. Plus, he saved a lot of money on parking. Miranda is practicing her dance steps together with her friends. In a particular sequence, all of them form a row. At that point, Miranda is the fourth from either side of the row. Can you figure out how many girls are practicing together? In total, there are 7 girls. Miranda is the fourth from either end of the row, which means there are 3 girls on one of her sides and 3 on the other. Ethan and his girlfriend took a flight to New York and reached their destination in 2.5 hours. After spending some quality time together, they flew back home. Surprisingly, this time it took them 150 minutes, even though the plane flew at the same speed. How is it possible? It's easy. 2.5 hours are the same as 150 minutes. Look at this matchstick arrangement. Do you see a donkey-shaped figure? Your task is to move just one matchstick to change the direction of its movement. That's how you can do it. 4 men can build 4 tables in 4 hours. In this case, how many tables will 8 men build in 8 hours? Was your first instinct to say 8 tables? Because that's what immediately came to my mind. But in fact, the correct answer is 16 tables. And it actually makes sense, because 8 men worked twice as long as 4 men. Look at these people attentively. Who do you think is in greater danger? The lion won't necessarily attack the man, of course, if he doesn't provoke the animal. If the guy tries his best to look unthreatening, the lion might simply ignore him. But the snake can easily tighten its grip, which can end very badly for this woman. Mark came to visit his friends in Chicago. While they were having dinner, they told the guy about a mysterious building in their city. It had a very bad reputation. People said that those who once entered it never came back. Despite his friends' warnings, Mark decided to explore the building. The place looked creepy, and soon the guy realized he was lost. Whatever he did, he couldn't spot the exit. Suddenly, he found himself in a large room. There were 4 doors in this room. Behind the first door, there was a mummy. Behind the second door, a vampire was hiding. The third door led to a den of a hungry wolf. And behind the fourth door, there was a ghost. Which door should Mark opt for to get out of the house unscathed? The mummy can potentially be very dangerous. The vampire behind the second door is also far from friendly. The wolf, especially hungry, can easily attack a person. At the same time, the ghost is relatively harmless. Mark should choose the fourth door. Now, look at this image. Can you figure out which man is the girl's husband? Have you noticed that the woman and the man on the right are wearing identical wedding rings? That's the clue we need. Marta got into a trap set by a powerful witch. The girl got locked in a jail cell, and the only thing that could help her escape was a special magic elixir. Marta found 3 jars. The liquid from the first one could turn her into a superwoman. The second jar contained the liquid that turned people into zombies, and if Marta drank the elixir from the third jar, she would turn into a vampire. The effect of each elixir could last for half an hour. Which of them should Marta drink? Marta should wait till the morning and drink the elixir from the third jar. Then she'd be able to turn into a bat and fly out that tiny window. Can you figure out which of these women is alive? It's the woman on the right. Unlike the lips of the other 2 girls, her lips are red and plump. Plus, her hair is still growing. If you watch a time-lapse of them lying there, you can notice that the length of her hair is changing. Poor people have it, but rich people need it. If you eat it, you won't survive. What is it? It's nothing. Now this next riddle is kind of funny. To solve it, you need to think outside the box. Why are all the rivers in the world rich? They have 2 banks. Now, did you get it right? Imagine you're running a marathon, and right before the finish line, you pass by the person who's running the second. What place are you in now? You're still in second place. You've been faster than the person in second place, but not first. I can sting without moving. I can poison without touching. I can bear the truth and the lies. You can't judge me by my size. What am I? A word. You measure its life in hours and minutes, and it serves you by expiring. It's quick when it's thin and slow when it's fat. Its biggest enemy is the wind. The longer it lives, the smaller it becomes. What is it? A candle. You probably know that ants move in groups. In one such group, there were 2 ants in front of the other 2 ants, 2 ants behind the other 2 ants, and 2 ants next to the other 2 ants. How many ants were there in the group? A small hint. You probably won't need your calculator to crack this riddle. Even if it may seem there were a lot of ants in the group, in reality, there were just 4. They simply stood in a square formation. Did you get it right? There are some flowers growing in the field and some bees flying over them. How many flowers and bees are there if both of the following statements are true? If all the bees land on all the flowers, 1 bee for a flower, 1 bee won't get a flower. If every 2 bees decide to share a flower, 1 flower will be left without a bee. How fast will you be able to find the answer? There are 4 bees and 3 flowers. Once, Mrs. Smith, Peter, Paul, and Patrick's mom heard a loud sound of shattering glass coming from the living room. She ran into the room and saw that her favorite vase was broken. She also spotted a football. She asked her sons what had happened, and each of them told her his own version of the accident. Peter said that Paul hadn't kicked the ball. He added that he knew for sure that Patrick had done this. Paul said that Patrick wasn't guilty. He also added that he hadn't finished his homework. And Patrick said that Paul had broken the vase, and he knew that for sure because Peter didn't play football at home. How could Mrs. Smith understand who broke the vase if the following is true? One boy lied in both of his statements. Two boys told the truth. Now, have you noticed that only one of Paul's statements is related to the accident? The one in which he says that Patrick isn't guilty? What he says about his homework changes nothing. The first of Peter's statement contradicts Patrick's first words and vice versa. This means that it's impossible for both of them to tell the truth. Peter and Paul can't both tell the truth as Paul's words contradict Patrick's second phrase. That's why Patrick and Paul can't lie, meaning that Peter lied in both of his statements. This way, Paul has broken the vase.
Daniel needed to visit his relatives in another city, so he boarded a train leaving from the railway station in his town. Not far from the station, there was a rather long tunnel. The train left the station and started to accelerate. Daniel's main problem was that he was a bit claustrophobic. What is the best place for him to sit? Daniel should sit at the back of the train. This way, he will spend minimum time inside the tunnel since the train is accelerating and moving faster and faster. Now let's say you have a bedsheet that is 50 inches long on each side, and you need to create 50 handkerchiefs with each side 1 inch long. It takes you 1 minute to cut out a 1-inch handkerchief. How long will it take you to cut 50 handkerchiefs? "49 minutes. When you finish the 49th handkerchief, you'll be left with one more piece of fabric you won't need to cut out. Lena, Allison, and Jenny are 3 daughters of mathematician George. When someone asks George about the ages of his daughters, he replies, "The current age of my daughters is prime. Also, the difference between their ages is also prime. So, how old are the girls?" Lena is 2, Allison is 5, and Jenny is 7. Their age difference is always a prime number. 7 minus 2 is 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. 7 criminals robbed a bank and hid the coins they got at a deserted factory. They decided to divide the money equally the next morning. But 2 greedy robbers wanted to deceive the others. They went to the factory at night and tried to divide the coins equally between them. But 1 coin was left. So they called another robber and decided to divide the amount equally among the 3 of them. Sadly, 1 coin was left again. The same thing happened when they called the 4th, 5th, and 6th robbers. Only when the 7th robber arrived in the morning did they manage to divide the coins equally. How many coins were there in total? There were 301 coins. This number can't be divided by 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 evenly. At the same time, 301 can be perfectly divided by 7. Now, look at these 2 ladies performing on the stage. Both of them have to do dangerous tricks. But can you figure out which of them is in real danger? It's the girl with the snake. This is a venomous snake. Someone replaced the harmless snake the girl had to use in her performance with this dangerous reptile. See that box with the warning sign the snake was taken from? The other girl is safe, even though the skirt seems to be burning uncontrollably. She's holding a special spray to extinguish the fire. On a tropical vacation, 4 friends decided to go snorkeling. Each friend spotted a different marine creature: a sea turtle, a clownfish, a starfish, and a jellyfish. Can you match each of the friends with the marine creature they spotted if Emma didn't see the sea turtle, Liam spotted the jellyfish, Olivia didn't see the clownfish, Jack saw the starfish? Emma spotted the clownfish, Liam saw the jellyfish, Olivia spotted the sea turtle, and Jack saw the starfish. After marveling at amazing sea creatures, our 4 friends rented 4 different watercraft: a kayak, a paddleboard, a jet ski, and a sailboat. Can you match each of the friends with the watercraft they rented based on these clues? Emma didn't rent the kayak or the sailboat. Liam rented the jet ski. Olivia was choosing between the paddleboard and the sailboat. Jack didn't rent the sailboat. Emma rented the paddleboat. Liam rented the jet ski. Olivia rented the sailboat, and Jack rented the kayak. So, I have keys but can't open any locks. I have a flat surface, but you can't stand on it. What am I? I'm a map. A system error caused the change in David's net banking password. To sort this out, he called customer care. This is the conversation he had with the assistant. David, my password has changed. Custom care executive, we have kept your password distinct this time. It has 8 letters, out of which 3 letters are the same as previous. David, okay, thanks. Can you determine the old and the new password of David's net banking account? The original password was changed, and the new password given by the custom care executive is distinct. In the 22nd century, robots live among people, and it's nothing out of the ordinary. But sometimes, they resemble people so much, it makes the detective work way harder. Like this time. Eric Blank, an experienced police officer, has to figure out which of the 3 suspects is guilty of identity theft. He knows for sure the culprit is a robot, but who isn't human? It's the girl in the middle. She has a USB port on the side of her neck. There is a wide field of corn. A goose finds its way into the field and starts running. Can you figure out up to which point the goose can run into the field? The goose can only run till the middle of the field. After that, it'll actually be running out of the field. Look at these 9 marbles and the way they're arranged. Can you move just 2 marbles to form a square? It can be done this way. Marta's shoes were all green except 2, all red except 2, and all pink except 2. How many shoes did Marta have? Just 3, 1 of each color. Janet had a dream. She wanted to become her professor's assistant. He was a famous and talented scientist. The man knew she was a smart girl, but before offering her the position, he decided to test her. The professor took her to a house with 2 rooms. They were completely isolated from each other. In one room, there were 3 switches. In the other room, there were 3 light bulbs. Janet had to stay in the room with the switches. She was allowed to go to the other room only once. She had to understand which switch was connected to each of the bulbs. The girl managed to solve this task. How did she do it? She turned on the first switch and waited for a minute. Then she turned it off. After that, she flipped the second switch and went inside the room with the bulbs. One of the bulbs was on. It was the one connected to the second switch. Janet touched the remaining bulbs. The warm one was connected to the first switch, and the cold one was linked to the third switch. You've drawn a long line. How can you make it even longer without touching it? You need to draw another shorter line nearby. In this case, the first one will be longer than the second one. I have 6 faces and 21 eyes, and still I can't see. What am I? I'm a dice. An empty bus arrived at a bus stop, and 15 people entered. At the next stop, 10 passengers left the bus, and 5 people fewer than at the first stop entered. After the third stop, 15 people left the bus. How many people are still inside? Only one person, the driver. Detectives have been trying to catch 2 infamous bank robbers for several years, and finally, after another robbery, they managed to capture one of the criminals. Police officers interrogated him for 2 days, but he said nothing about the stolen money or his accomplice's whereabouts. Still, in the next 24 hours, the detectives managed to find the place where the money was hidden. It was a small house in the suburbs. In its basement, there was a man who seemed very excited to see the police. He said he had been trapped in the house already for a week. Nobody visited him, and he was starting to run out of food. That's why he was so happy to read the good news in the paper. The police officers immediately realized he was the accomplice they had been looking for. How? If he was trapped in the basement, how could he get a hold of fresh newspapers?
In Middleton High School, a teacher decided to play a game with students. She wrote a riddle on the board, and the first student that got the answer correctly would win a big prize. The riddle she wrote went like this: I am clean when I'm empty, and I'm dirty when I'm full. What am I? Barbara immediately knew the answer to this one and won the prize. Yeah. Can you guess what she answered? It's a chalkboard! The answer was right in front of her all along. Gabriel is an experienced trekker. He went for a 3-day trek in the beautiful forests of Spain when he was captured by a mythical creature. The creature took him to a hidden realm and took away his backpack and all his belongings. After he took everything he needed, he left Gabriel in a dark cave all by himself. To leave the cave, Gabriel was supposed to choose one of 3 tunnels. The first tunnel had thousands of pointy crystals that could hurt him if he stepped on them. The second tunnel was filled with shadowy creatures that were eager for some of Gabriel's vitality. And the last tunnel had the belongings of an ancient wizard, his cape and some of his potions lying around. Which tunnel should he choose? I'd say the last one, right? Since it only has the wizard's belongings, the wizard himself is nowhere to be seen. Oh no. The third tunnel was a trap after all. It took Gabriel to the wizard's tower. When he walked into the tower's only room, he got locked inside it. And to make things worse, when he looked down, he saw that the tower was on fire. The room had no doors, and only a small window. Thankfully, he found there were 3 magic potions that could help him escape. Yes! The first potion had the power of giving him incredible physical strength. With the second potion, he could summon any animal he wanted to help him. And the last potion would turn into a vampire. Which potion should Gabriel choose? Well, no animal could help him escape the tower, and even if he had all the strength in the world, he wouldn't be able to beat the fire. But if he turned into a vampire, then he could transition into a bat and fly away through the little window. So the third bottle it is. Maya was exploring the realms when she opened a door that took her to Rainbow Land. This world was filled with flying unicorns and colorful fairies. But they were mischievous creatures that liked playing pranks with outsiders. So, they held Maya hostage until she could figure out the answer to their riddle. They asked her, "I'm a color you can eat. What am I? Can you help Maya figure out the answer to this riddle?" It's an orange! Way to go, Maya! But the fairy people were in the mood for playing more games, so they continued with their riddles. They asked Maya, "I make 2 people out of 1. What am I?" Maya had to think for a while to answer this one, but she got it correctly. Yes! What did she answer? It's a mirror! Taylor was walking through the streets of New York City when she tripped over something, fell down, and hurt her head. When she woke up, she was at the hospital with doctors asking her a bunch of questions to see if she was all right. The funny doctor, who is known for his riddles, asked her, "What has a head, a tail, is brown, and has no legs?" Can you help Taylor out here? It's a penny. You can see how this riddle is misleading, but hey, you got it right. 3 people decided to spend their vacations in Antarctica. Bianca had some trouble with the harsh weather, but felt it was worth it in the end. Pablo had a great time photographing the penguins for his social media page, and Helena got to do some fishing while she was there. On the last day of their trip, passing through airport security, one of them got caught trying to take a penguin with them in their backpack. Take a look at the picture. Can you tell who it was? Let's see what we have here. Well, is that a penguin's feet poking out of Helena's backpack? It sure is. Guess she did more than just fishing during her vacation. Kailani was swimming in a dark underwater cave when she found a gold lamp. She rubbed the lamp, and a powerful merman came out of it. The merman told her he would grant her heart's truest wish and asked her what it would be. The young mermaid was confused about what to wish for, so she went to ask her family what they wanted most. Her father said he wanted to be king. Her mother said she wanted to have a pet shark. And her brother said he wanted to marry the love of his life. The powerful merman granted Kalani one wish, but all of her family members got what they wanted. Can you guess what Kalani wished for? Kailani wished that her father, the king, attended her brother's wedding to the love of his life, and that her mother's pet shark be the one that carried the rings down the aisle. Smart girl. Yes! Bob was blindfolded and put into a shaky van. When he woke up, he was alone in a dark, empty room. There was nobody there, but there were 3 envelopes on the floor. A post-it on top of the envelope said, "Each envelope contains a red capsule and 2 statements. In one of these envelopes, both statements are false. In another envelope, both statements are true. You have to choose the correct capsule to get out of this alive." He opened the first envelope, saw a capsule and the messages. 1. Don't take this pill. 2. Take the pill from the second envelope. On the second envelope, the note said, 1. Don't take the pill from the first envelope. 2. Take the pill from the third envelope. And the last envelope said, 1. Don't take this pill. 2. Take the pill from the first envelope. Which capsule should Bob take? He should trust the pill from the third envelope. Let's see why. The first message of the first envelope is true, while the second is false. Both messages from the second envelope are true. This leaves us with 2 false statements on the third envelope. It's the finale of the Big Money Buzz show, and Natalie is faced with a difficult task. There are 3 fish bowls, each one of them containing a different amount of gold bars inside. If she manages to put her hand inside one of the bowls and take it out, she can keep the gold bar. The first bowl has scalding hot water inside of it. The second is filled with flesh-burning acid. And the last bowl has a couple of venomous scorpions walking around. Which bowl should she choose? Natalie should just wait until the water cools down and grab the gold bar from the first bowl.
Yes!
Nova wanted to be part of the Binary Bandits. They were an elite cybersecurity group that protected the internet world from hackers. She sent several emails to the group's members, but she was completely ignored. Until one day, she got an encrypted message with a mysterious riddle. It said that if she could answer this riddle, she would be interviewed by a member of the bandits and get a chance to be part of the group. The message said, "Invisible I am, but through circuits I flow. Harness my power and watch your knowledge grow. A key to the future, a virtual seed. Decipher my code and all secrets you'll heed. What am I?" Nova's answer was a 4-letter word, and she got it right. Can you guess what she answered? She answered, "Data." That seemed obvious, huh? Loki is hiking in a chanted forest. Suddenly, he gets into a magic trap. A wicked wizard, whose name is Olaf, offers him a deal. "I'll set you free if you manage to crack all my riddles. First of all, organize these objects in order of invention." Olaf shows Loki a wheel, a lighter, a vase, a bow, and a light bulb. Can you help him put them into the correct positions? The bow is the oldest invention. Then goes the wheel, the ancient Greek vase, and the light bulb. And finally, the lighter. Next, Olaf shows Loki 2 pictures of his favorite fairy. Can you spot 3 differences between them? Here they are. The next task for Loki is to guess a word. Even when it passes in front of the sun, it doesn't cast a shadow. What is it? Wind. Olaf shows Loki a table with magic potions and ingredients. He marked all the ingredients with the colors that they create when added to the potion. Loki has to guess which ingredients were not used in these 3 potions. Can you help him? We need red and yellow for the orange potion. For the blue one, dark blue and white. And for the dark green potion, we need green and black. So the extra ingredient is the pink one.
Yeah!
Loki cracks the riddle, and Olaf asks the next question. What stones will you never find in a river? Do you have any clue? Dry stones. The next task for Loki is to serve the wizard's girlfriends. Roxanne says, "I don't want my cocktail to have any yellow fruits or berries." Sabrina says, "I want my drink to have an ingredient that starts from the first letter of my name." And Cassandra says, I don't want any green or red ingredients in my drink. There are 3 cocktails in the fridge at the moment. Can you help Loki distribute the drinks among the ladies? The second cocktail is yellow, so it doesn't have anything red or green. It's for Roxanne. The first one is for Sabrina, because it has strawberries. And the third drink is a blueberry milkshake, so it fits Roxanne's order.
Oh, yeah.
Olaf is satisfied with Loki's intelligence, and he offers him a job.
Yeah.
Loki agrees and becomes the wizard's assistant. His first task is to clean the kitchen.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Olaf goes into the woods to collect some herbs. He comes across a toxic swamp and immediately gets sick. He needs a special potion. So Olaf sends Loki a letter with his crow. I need your help. Here are several recipes. Don't go anywhere. Prepare one potion and send it to me with the crow. Which potion should Loki make? Can you help him? Olaf says that Loki shouldn't go out, which means he can only use the ingredients that they have in the house. So Loki can't cook the first and the third potion. As for the second one, all the necessary ingredients are in her kitchen. Olaf gets better, but he still needs to stay in bed. So he sends Loki to the pet shop. The task is to buy a new cat. Olaf wants it to look like the cat that lived with him before. It must have green eyes and a one-color tail. Also, it shouldn't have any black wool. And it shouldn't be tabby. Can you help Loki find the right cat for Olaf? Only this cutie meets all the requirements. The next day, Olaf sends Loki to a wild beach to collect some rare magic seaweeds. Suddenly, Loki sees a group of beautiful ladies standing on the shore. He wants to approach, but the ladies notice Loki and begin to move in the opposite direction. Loki runs after them on the sand along the water, but he can't catch up. Then Loki looks around and realizes that he was chasing fairies. How did he know? Loki ran after those ladies on the sand, but he can only see his own footprints. The fairies were flying. Loki dives under the water to collect the seaweed. He sees a little mermaid there. Then he floats to the surface and dives again. Can you spot 3 differences under the sea? Here they are. Olaf's daughter, Salma, is a talented young witch. She likes getting into trouble. And this time, she was put in jail. Loki comes to the police station to rescue her. He pays bail, and the police officer is going to release Salma. One of these ladies is about to be free. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at the photo in his hand. Salma has brown eyes, so he should release the second prisoner. Loki and Salma should go back to the wizard's house, but the enchanted forest has many unexpected surprises. There are 3 possible routes they can take. There's a fire-breathing dragon sleeping in the first passage. There's a young magician hanging out on the second road. He hates all women, and he turns them into stones every time he meets them. And the third road runs through a toxic lake. Breathing its vapor is fatal for any living being. Which way is more or less safe? The guys can take the second route. Salma isn't just a woman, she's a witch, so she can deflect the black magic. The guys keep on walking and see an amusement park. The owner is very upset. Someone has stolen many tickets from the register. Loki offers to investigate this case. First of all, he looks through the footage. He's sure that the thief is still in the park. He questions 3 suspects. Billy says, I rode the carousel and I got very sick, so I wouldn't ride anything else, even for free. Miles says, I'm celebrating my 17th birthday today. My friends and I rode the roller coaster 3 times, and now it's time to go home. And Jessica says, I only visit the Ferris wheel. It's my favorite. Miles has tricked Loki. He's too young for the roller coaster. There's a sign. People under 18 years of age can't ride it. Loki and Salma continue on their way and find 3 apple trees. Salma wants to pick some apples for a magic punch, but only one of the trees is safe. Can you guess which one? All the footsteps are leading to the first tree, but not a single animal walked away from it, so it probably has some hidden danger. There are some creepy runes on the trunk of the second tree, so it's probably cursed. Therefore, they should choose the third tree. The guys are picking the apples and putting them in Salma's hat, and suddenly they meet someone very curious. Crack this, Rebus, if you want to know who. A bear. The guys run away from the bear and hide in a cave. Luckily, Salma managed to collect 14 apples before the escape, because they met 7 hungry gnomes inside the cave. They demand payment for the shelter. How can Salma divide the fruits among the gnomes so that each gnome could get an equal amount of oranges? It's impossible because Salma doesn't have any oranges, only apples. Finally, Loki and Salma return to Olaf's house. Loki takes a look at the porch and says, wait a minute, something has changed since I last saw this porch. Look, I have a picture. Can you spot all the changes? The runes at the door are now reflected. The plant from this pot is gone. The curtains have changed color, and the number of candles is different. Loki enters the house and finds Olaf unconscious on the floor. Someone put a sleeping spell on him and stole his magic tools. Loki interrogates 3 suspects among Olaf's neighbors. Cassandra says, I just got home from a pumpkin festival. Everyone can verify my words. Ambrose says, I've been retreating and meditating in my basement for a week. I have no idea who did it. And Roxane says, it wasn't me, but I guess it was Cassandra. She's just jealous that Olaf decided to date me. Who did it? Take a closer look at the witch's cauldron in Ambrose's house. There's an engraving saying Olaf's property, so he's the thief.